Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. Just a little bit of an advance apology. If you hear any lawn mowing sounds, it is because I'm officially cursed. Any time in the last year that I have tried to film a video that apparently coincides immediately with someone's innate need to engage in landscaping. So we're just going to plow through. I'm just challenging some of my own perfectionism on this one. I would usually abandon the video, but we're going to do it. Today we're talking about Brittany Dawn Fitness. Brittany is a pretty prominent fitness influencer. And she has gotten in some hot water recently, not just in terms of her own audience pushback and feedback, but on a legal front as well. I think it's going to set an interesting precedent for what we could see as far as regulation and holding these people accountable, not just socially, but legally as well. Before we get into that, I was sent by a few people who have obviously been following this story, an update on Sarah's day. So Sarah has not come out on her own platforms to address the ebook, which was criticized from quite a few fronts, including from myself, regarding whether or not it was aimed at people who are vulnerable to eating disorders or currently dealing with an eating disorder. Because so many people lodged complaints about the advertisement, she responded to that complaint directly to the body that sort of regulates advertisements here in Australia. And somebody sent me that documentation. It is interesting and disappointing to say the very least. But if you would like me to dive into that and do a video analysing her response and what I think that tells us about some more work that we need to do within advocacy and advising sort of these regulatory bodies, I am more than happy to do that. So like I said, today we are talking about Brittany Dawn. She and Sarah's day actually have quite a bit of overlap. Brittany got her start on social media, sharing her own story with fitness and dieting. And she now has a following of I think over 500,000 on Instagram and about 300,000 here on YouTube. She started sharing images that we are very, very accustomed to seeing in online fitness spaces, the transformation photos, heavy imagery centering her own body and her weight loss and her toning and all that stuff that is just sort of very cookie cutter. But back then, before and after photos, those transformation photos were a really, really effective way to build and boost your platform. We're a little bit more discerning now in fitness, diet, and even recovery spaces about the role and impact of before and afters, the quality and value of what they actually tell us about health or fitness or recovery. But it was sort of an unquestioned and very, very popular way to build a following if you were talking about fitness and diet. And Brittany, similar to Sarah, doesn't hold any qualifications to kind of underpin the services that she started to sell. I think we all know this story all too well, that we can predict where it's going to go. Sharing her own story was not sort of the limit of what Brittany Dawn did with her platform. Like so many of the people we know too well in this area, she started to package up this advice and sell it to her followers. Brittany was selling online programs which ranged from $92 to $300. And these programs were tailored. Apparently you were going to be provided with this tailored program to suit you and your goals. And additionally, if you paid a fee on top of the program fee, you would have access to Brittany herself. She would be providing you with personalized advice and personalized encouragement. The next stage of the story is also predictable. These customers did not receive personalized programs. They certainly did not receive direct personalized encouragement and communication with Brittany. What they did receive were generic programs and very, very vague, sporadic, and then eventually none at all. Very vague messages like, "You've got this, babe, go for it, girl." Cringing internally, even just saying that myself. Understandably, those customers felt pretty ripped off, as I would too. This is a pretty substantial amount of money for a very specific service which was not being provided. And numerous people were making her aware via comments and messages, emails, asking for refunds. And more predictability. They were blocked, their comments were deleted, refunds were very rarely received, and some which were received came with the caveat that they must sign a non-disclosure agreement about the interaction, about the products that they'd received and the fact that they were not as advertised before they could receive their refund. Super, super, super dodgy stuff, but not new. We hear about this time and time again with fitness influencers, which is why I think that this case is so interesting in terms of where this could be going for the fitness and diet culture world online, and how these people could be held accountable versus just the wild, wild west that it has been for far too long. So we've heard this story before, comments being deleted, criticism being deleted, genuine claims for refunds being deleted, those people being blocked. They then predictably went to Facebook and started up a Facebook group in which these customers and sort of the people in her community who had been impacted by her conduct shared their experiences. There are about 4,000 people in this Facebook group, which is extraordinary. I have heard about a lot of Facebook groups and sort of online spaces being created to give people a place to go to. I have never seen numbers like that, which just speaks to the breadth and depth of her misconduct, really. What makes this case different is that Brittany Dawn is currently being sued by the state of Texas for misleading her customers. And the lawsuit is really interesting, quite damning, and involves customers who have eating disorders who had disclosed this to Brittany Dawn and who were provided with programs which were potentially incredibly damaging. Attorney General Ken Paxton is demanding that Brittany Dawn be charged with a penalty of between $250,000 and $1 million, excluding court fees. And it's the content of the lawsuit which demonstrates why there has been this response from the government. So of the many people who are within that lawsuit, 14 customers with eating disorders have demanded refunds. One of them said that they had been led to believe by Brittany Dawn that she had the training and the capacity to help with recovery from an eating disorder. At times when she would, whether in videos or on Instagram, etc., be talking about her own eating disorder and how she had overcome it via fitness, diet, etc., mindset shift, whatever it was, she would simultaneously put up links and redirect people to be able to buy her programs, which even though, you know, it's not a direct claim of I am a psychologist or I am a dietitian, it's a pretty understandable leap that people would be making, that she is trying to appeal to this audience and then advertising a program which is similar to what she is saying helped her and how she's so passionate about helping other women in the same position. Even worse than this, some of these customers contacted Brittany Dawn for programs, diet programs, which were aimed at helping them to gain weight. So certainly not to purchase programs where there was a calorie deficit or where they were instructed to restrict in any way. And they were sent diet programs that were centered around restriction and a calorie deficit. I think that sentence alone explains why a lawsuit like this would be so necessary. I think underpins why having a major shift in regulation of this space, particularly fitness and diet online, is not just recommended, but absolutely urgently needed. Regardless of eating disorder diagnosis or non-diagnosis, they can be quite hard to get. It doesn't matter what the individual features of the person might be. We never, ever, under any circumstances, are advising weight loss in any way to somebody with an eating disorder. This is why we had to have the discussion we had about Sarah's Day, because there is absolutely no way that it could ever be appropriate for a program like that to be prescribed, recommended, or suggested to somebody with a current eating disorder, a history of an eating disorder, or someone who has a vulnerability to an eating disorder. One of the inclusions that was very specific that I really appreciated from the Attorney General is that she be barred from claiming that she can in any way provide advice to people with eating disorders. I think that that goes to show that this understanding of how fitness and diet culture, how individuals like this are affecting such a vulnerable population at levels that we need people to understand and take action, that is starting to change. We certainly know that that is the case here in Australia. It is not happening as quickly as any of us would probably like, but here in Australia, we do know that there was a recent parliamentary inquiry into this kind of content online. I know that I am personally, as part of my work with Butterfly Foundation, in constant conversations with politicians and people in charge of, making policy and enforcing policy and bringing awareness, constantly educating people about the nefarious nature of these online spaces and just how vulnerable this population is, and that it should not be tolerated as a matter of necessity and urgency. So this gives me an awful lot of hope. I will absolutely be keeping an eye on this story. If you become aware of anything before I post about it, please don't be shy in sending it across to my inbox or letting me know on Instagram. This is something which wouldn't have happened 10 years ago, probably wouldn't have happened 5 or 2 years ago, but that is how quickly the space is changing. That is how effective advocacy and awareness is becoming at institutional levels. People just used to accept diet culture, fitness culture as if they were breathing air. We, as sufferers of eating disorders, know it's not air, it's toxic fumes, and people outside of this space are starting to wake up to that too. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know below. Let me know if you'd like to see that Sarah's Day video. I think the complaint really shines a light on how unwilling people in this space are to change, to take up on constructive criticism for the health and safety of their followers, which is always disheartening because these people aren't given platforms for any other reason than it is bestowed upon them by the people who follow them and trust them and support them and put money in their pocket. So it's pretty disappointing to see the lack of care and consideration for her following. I will see you guys next week in another video. There will be a podcast episode up next week. You guys take care. I have some big personal news that I'll be sharing with you soon, something that's happening in a couple of weeks. But thank you so much for your patience the last couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed this one. Talk to you soon. Bye.